Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Nope. Scrizeme.
Well, the M is a VI, so it's Screvi.
Screvi. Yeah.
Screvi. Hi.
Really
hey.
spooky pants.
Hi, turkeys.
What's up, jerks?
My name is David Bell.
My name's Tom Ryman.
And we just watched
Screvi. We just watched the 6th Scream movie.
Yeah.
6 of
Try
them.
telling your teen self that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I was doing the math in the theater, and it really bummed me out. I was like, oh, yeah, that was like 27 years ago. Okay, cool.
Yeah, fuck us.
I haven't been a teenager for a long time, and I inch ever closer to death each day.
Yeah, my bones hurt.
What is this place?
A shrine.
Did you miss me?
He's gonna keep coming after us. Maybe he gets to win this time. We've got to lure him in. And we execute him.
My whole skeleton hurts, Dave.
Yeah, it's true.
It just it can't wait to be free of my worthless flesh.
This is God, that sounds so nice.
Mm-hmm.
This is all right. So this is the same team from the one before this, right?
Yes, yeah, the Radio Silence they call themselves.
Okay, and if people are curious, they can go listen to our review of that one. I remember I was pretty lukewarm. You seemed. I mean, I'm just going by memory.
I seem to remember I liked it better than you, but I didn't love it. I just thought it was. We both came down that it was disappointing.
Right, and I think it's because, for me at least, the marketing for that one was like, it's a brand new Scream. It's like we're resetting the franchise. It's gonna be like nothing you ever seen, and then it was just like another Scream.
Yeah, it was just another
and it
Scream
was like,
movie.
oh,
it was a very basic Scream movie. Yeah, and it was disappointing because we like the filmmakers. Well,
yeah,
we like Ready or Not, Southbound.
Yeah. So, what did you think about this Scream 6?
Dave, I thought this movie was pretty bad.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So, this is going to be fun.
Okay.
I didn't mind it. I kind of liked it.
Okay.
I do think it was pretty bad, but I did have fun. I have to say.
Yeah. I mean, I think I might have liked it better than the previous one, but maybe I didn't. I don't know.
Yes. So
I have a lot of problems with it.
I think your assessment is probably better than mine. I came into this movie with a deep nihilism, where I was expected to be disappointed, and so I guess I'll just explain why I liked it. All right.
What did you like about it, Dave?
It's more of just that I had fun. I think what it is that the new city environment was enough to entertain me. A lot of it wasn't still. It was just like apartments, and it's like, well, that might as well just be a house.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they, the alleyway murder, the subway stuff, I liked the ending set piece. I liked this weird idea of like a serial killer museum. There was something like inherently creepy to me about that. About like seeing all this stuff together, like this weird reverence. Like I think this captured the weird reverence that they have.
Yeah, that's fair.
That like the murderers had.
Yeah.
What's unfortunate is that they don't really capture that with who the murderers are, and of course we're gonna spoil this. I will say proudly, the moment I met the characters, I said, "Oh, they did it." and they did it. And I was right. I never wavered. And maybe I think that's the fault of the writing.
It is. Yeah,
I don't know.
This
okay,
movie
did you also have the same thing?
Very badly written. Well, they were the only characters they could have been.
Well, they're also the only characters who had any exposition around them. So the roommate. So I only predicted 2 of the 3. There's 3 killers, folks. Again, we're gonna spoil the shit out of this. And there's a roommate, and like she just like let slip that like her dad's a cop early, and then like let slip that like their brother died, and that never means anything. And it's like, well, obviously that's a motive. Like, why would a character randomly say that their brother died? Mm-hmm. And it never matter. It's like, oh no, they did it. And then the dad shows up, who's the cop, and they're saying stuff where it's like, oh, they had this stuff. This was in a police lockup. How'd they get it? And it's like, well, the cop. And they kill her, but you never see her die. And then the cop is on the scene, and it's like, okay, they faked her death. Like it's very obvious, I thought, because of that one element where it's like they're giving exposition for these 2 characters that don't mean anything unless they're the killer.
And they were also the only characters who weren't returning characters, essentially,
yes.
outside of
Yes.
like hot guy from across the building. Who
Right.
might have been my favorite character. That guy was incredible.
I loved him. He had like this dirtbag energy that I really liked.
Yeah, they should have brought him with to the finale. He would have fucked that ghost face up.
I know. They had to figure out. There's a lot of
They had
characters
to
finding
figure out a way to write
stupid
him
reasons.
out.
Yeah,
Write him out of the finale.
Yeah,
he looked like he would beat the hell out of somebody in a ghost mask.
Yeah, yes. He really does. He looks like he just instantly but like that is of course the problem with this movie is that and I would say every Scream sequel is like why they always begin with like the characters prepared this time and then they're not. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I have a gun now. Oh, I dropped my gun. And it's like, well, you should take some fucking classes, shouldn't you?
Yeah, maybe tie
like,
that thing to your wrist like a Wiimote.
Yeah, Gail Weathers should be like a Navy SEAL at this point.
Right. That was, speaking of Gail, that was a huge problem I had with the film, was that there are, I think, no kidding, 4 different characters that they get stabbed and you think they're dead, but they come back at the end. And there's like, they do the David Arquette thing where it looked like he was dead in the original and then he comes back at the end and it's all like, we're supposed to be relieved. But they do it 4 times in this movie.
Right, so this is the problem with this, and I would argue a lot of Scream movies, is they do this. I thought this had one of the opening of this I loved. I loved the opening.
So did I. And then the rest, that's part of, I want to talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why I was so disappointed, because that opening makes a lot of offers and presents what I thought of 2 interesting ways that the movie was going to go, and it didn't go either way.
Yes. So So the opening is incredible. Is that Spider-Man's bully?
Yeah, that was Flash Thompson.
Okay, perfect.
Tony Revolio,
yeah.
I think.
It starts with a woman doing a very stupid thing on a date and like gets lured into the alleyway. Mm-hmm. And then once she's lured and the voice is like, I can't believe you got lured in here. And this happens a few times in this movie. You're in a city. Just run and scream. But she just like freezes in this alleyway until she can get killed. And she gets killed. And the first offer of the movie that made me go, oh, hell yeah. Because Ghostface bends down and they stay on him for a second. I was like, are you going to do what I think you're going to do? And they do it. He takes off his mask.
Yeah.
And we just see his face.
Yep. And it's Tony Revolio. Yeah, it's Flash Thompson from Spider-Man movies.
And my hope, I was like, oh my God, what if the whole movie is like this?
Yes.
What if,
That's one of the 2. That's one of the things I thought might happen is like, oh, what if because that would be really subverting the series, is you find out who the killer is immediately and the movie just follows them from their perspective.
Right. That would have been
trying
incredible.
not to get caught. Yeah, that would have been really interesting.
Right.
It's like it's like Hostel 2. Yeah, however you feel about the Hostel movies, but Hostel 2 does a really smart scene where you follow the people who are doing the torturing.
Right, because how do you make a franchise fresh?
Yeah.
You change things like the perspective. It makes perfect sense. But then we keep following him and it becomes pretty clear like, okay, he's going to die.
He's going to get murdered.
He's
But they do a thing when he does get murdered where you find out he has a partner and they're planning to do their own Scream killing spree. But they both get killed by a ghost face. And I forget what he says to Ghostface about, and it's something in reference to the movies. And Ghostface says, "Who gives a shit about movies?" And then that's the bam title screen.
And that also excited me because I was like,
Right.
Thank fucking God. Like a Ghostface that doesn't care about scary movies would be great.
Here's what I was thinking, because especially up until they get the first phone call too, where it's like, because Ghostface tells them, he's like, "Oh, I killed these two jokers that were going to come murder you." Like, I thought the killer was going to be, well, at least I thought it might go this way. I was like, oh man, what if the killer is some kind of weird vigilante who spends the movie killing a bunch of Ghostface wannabes, and then of course comes for the main characters to make them stop. Like maybe it's a victim's family member or something.
Right.
It's like the only way these copycats will stop is if we wipe everybody out that's involved.
Right.
And that would have been really interesting. Yeah.
And the fucking, I think it says "Who gives a fuck," but it doesn't matter. This cutting to titles after he says "Who gives a fuck about scary movies," it made an offer, which is like, oh, we're throwing everything out.
Yeah.
And that's what this needs. And this is the problem with Scream, the inherent like issue with all the sequels. But mainly these later ones,
the past two,
is that they want to be subversive. They say we are so subversive. The problem is it's producers deciding these things, so they don't know how to be subversive, and so they don't do the extra mile. They're too scared to actually be subversive.
Yeah, they still just have a scene in both of these new movies now where a character brings the film to a screeching halt. The same character in both movies.
Yeah.
To go through this really painfully forced, like, here are the rules of scary movies. I hear the rules of a sequel to a requel. And
I was about to say
that if we weren't covering this for a podcast, I would have walked out in that scene, because that scene was so cynical and like condescending and like badly. It felt like it was telling us, "Fuck you for watching this," but also we're still doing the thing that you should think is stupid. Does that make sense?
I have a thing to say about that scene, because that scene, the movie almost completely lost me as well.
Yeah.
Like, again, I had fun watching this movie because I had no expectations for it, but that scene made me go, oh, fuck.
It's the character going like, oh, and the core four characters returning from the previous movie, none of them are safe. It's like, she's casually talking about the fact that she and her brother might get murdered. And like her two other friends might get murdered, but she doesn't behave like this in any other scene in the movie.
Yes, that scene felt like a producer note. It felt like a reshoot because it doesn't fit in the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
They just had like, that's the weird thing. They're like, next scene, the scene earlier, they're like terrified, they're exhausted, and then it cuts to them like in a random park that they've never been to.
Yeah.
And it just starts with her like, okay, here's the rules. And then they cut out of that, and then But I want to know something about that.
Like 2 scenes later, her girlfriend gets gutted and falls out of a fire escape. Like,
exactly.
It's so fucking weird. It's just, it's the worst scene in any movie. And
but
it's
I have
just
two
right
things
in the
to note
middle of
about
this
that.
one, like a dead fish. Okay.
Yeah. 2 things to note. One, it's about how fucking subversive it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
They're like, the main character could die, we could die. Nobody dies. In fact, they compare it to Scream 2. And if you remember Scream 2, more people die in that movie. This is less subversive than Scream 2.
Also,
like, no.
Did you notice all of the beats are the same as Scream 2?
That's what I was about to say.
Okay.
It's also exactly Scream 2.
They just remade Scream 2.
It's the parent of the murderer in the last one coming back.
And even the finale is in a theater. Like, they do the same.
Exactly.
They do the park scene. They
with the robes.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's just Scream 2.
They do a fire. They do somebody getting stabbed in a public place, surrounded by. It's just Scream 2 again.
But they barely call attention to that fact.
Yeah.
They like say it once. That in Stab 2, but then but you'd expect then that they'd go, okay, we're going to subvert it because we literally have a character saying anything goes, and then nothing goes. Nobody, like we said, the most of the main core characters survive.
All of them,
even the ones that are like stabbed to the point where it's like they should have died.
Right.
So they take it back. They're too scared to actually do the fucking thing that they're claiming their own movie's going to do.
Yeah, it's like, it reminded me a little bit of Scream 4, where it introduced a whole new generation of characters and killed them all.
Right. See, I liked that.
I
That
didn't, but it was
a good idea, I thought.
It depends. Like, if you were coming in to be like, it's a fresh new start for the series, and also we got some of the old characters coming back, and you just kill off all of the new characters.
That's the actual subversive thing, isn't it?
That's true.
Yeah, like imagine if the new Star Wars did that. Like that is actually subversive, whereas this one is claims it's going to be subversive and then isn't in any way.
Well, something else I wanted to call out about the rules scene is when she's listing off, okay, here's all the ways it's gonna. You don't know what to expect, and then she goes and rattles off all of these things that have been tropes for a very long time.
Yes. I also want to note something really. So I think this goes into the core reason that this movie failed, in my opinion.
I mean, it's the biggest opening of the entire franchise. Like, it's doing well.
No, I just mean failed as a quality. Yeah. Like why it doesn't.
It's not
I know
good.
it's getting good reviews.
Yeah, I'm losing my mind over that one.
Yeah. Well, I did have fun. I can't say the audience I was in had fun.
Sure.
I think younger generations are probably really enjoying this. And if you think about it, this actually goes into the problem. And I think I would have had way more fun. It's really weird. This one scene kind of gets at the core. So she's there. So they're saying like, okay, so it's a requel of a sequel
to a requel
or whatever.
Yeah.
And she goes, no, we're in a franchise, right? And then she starts listing off. She's like Iron Man, Star Wars, and to my thought is, you fucking idiot. That's not what you're in. You're in a horror sequel. You're in part 5 of a sequel. Why are you comparing it to superhero movies and Star Wars? You need to say we're in Jason Takes Manhattan. We're in like, part 5 of Elm Street. That's the actual horror comparison. And it's the fact that they didn't think that. The fact that they compared themselves to like superhero films is to me like the core of why they didn't understand what they were doing. Because like that's the obvious comparison. And had they made that, everything else would have been more forgivable in my head. And in fact, it was, because that's how I was treating the movie. I was treating it like Nightmare on Elm Street 5.
We're treating it like Scream 6.
Yeah, I was treating like Halloween 5. Yeah, where it's like, this is just bullshit. Like I want to have some fun. I want to have some stupid moments. And the characters are stupid in this. They do stupid things, but that's okay because it's Scream 6.
Right, it's a slasher movie. They're supposed to do dumb things.
Right, and they should have said in that scene, they should have said like, yeah, we're in part 6 of a slasher series. Let's think about the rules to that. But instead they're fucking Hollywood-addled brains, whatever producer note was like, we got to compare it to Iron Man? What the fuck? Like, that's so weird. Yeah. And to me, that digs into like why they didn't understand like what they needed to be doing tone-wise for this film. Like, if they weren't going to subvert it, make it funny. And there was a little bit of funny parts. The part at the end where the cop runs at her with a gun but doesn't shoot the gun made me laugh.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, and I wanted more of that, to be honest. I wanted it to be dumber. And that's why I did enjoy, like, the set pieces.
I did like when Dermot Mulroney gets all, like, eye twitchy and weird when he's delivering his villain monologue.
Yeah. But again, like every Scream.
Yeah, it just felt so, like, that whole, I don't know, it's the 6th Scream movie, so I don't know what I'm expecting. But, like, it just felt so contrived by the end of it. Like, it's like, oh, okay, here everybody's going to do their crazy killer voice now. All his 2 teenage kids are, like, slobbering or whatever, And it's just like, it's just, you're all just doing, like, what Matthew Lillard was doing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
The people in the audience were losing their minds, but again, they're all like teenagers. They're all high,
sure.
They're just having a good time, and so I think that's generally where it's like, people are having fun watching this.
I think I would have liked it. My enjoyment of the film probably would have gone up exponentially if they took out that stupid rules scene. Like
that really soured me.
Yeah,
that lost me.
It's so bad. Because like I will at the very least, I'll say the violence, the kills are a step above from the last movie. If you're into that aspect of slashers, which I am.
That's the thing is I think as a slasher, I always try to think of this like this. I really wish they had done the better monologue, because when you think of this in the in this is part 6 of a slasher franchise, I try to picture like, what is this going to feel like 20 years from now? Like where, future Friday night movie night, people watching shit like this, because it is kind of silly and dumb,
Is this going to be the Freddy's Dead of the series?
Right. And that's what the conversation they should have been having was, and that was really frustrated me. But I was still enjoying it on that level. Like I at least judged it on that level. And so by doing that, I was just sort of enjoying myself. Even though, again, like to be honest, I don't think I ever really. I don't know. Most screams, I don't think. I always like swap between like, oh, that's the killer. No, that's the killer. No, that's the killer. Because that's what the point of the screams are.
Yeah.
This was like the first one where I was like, oh, those two are the killer. And they never will stop being the killer in my head. And then, oh, there they are as the killer. Because like, who the fuck else would it be?
Yeah, I pegged Jack Quaid in the last one just because the casting felt too
right. I think
perfect. I was like, well, he has to be it. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, who's it gonna be? Like, yeah. Like, as you pointed out, like these legacy characters or these strangers, one of which is played by a notable actor. Like,
the other two you've barely seen in any scenes. Like the roommate, especially the boy roommate, like he just vanishes for long stretches of the movie.
Really
like,
does,
well, he's clearly one of the murderers.
See, I thought he was a decoy. Like I thought he was there to be like, that was the only one that
throw
got
off
me.
Suspicion.
Yeah. When they had, but like when it was revealed the cop, I assumed it was going to be the daughter, and then I thought it was going to be something interesting. Like I think they should introduce like a stranger or something like that. Or I'm sure we were all hoping for Matthew Lillard. I think they did they ADR that line?
Which one?
Did you notice that?
Oh, they might
when they're sitting down and they talk about Stu and they cut away to the TV and someone says like, if he died,
if you believe he's dead, that's what she says.
Yeah, it felt like they had like read the internet and they ADR'd
Oh yeah,
that.
there's a hashtag Stu lives. Like it's
yeah.
And Skeet's back in this one.
Always
love seeing Skeet
covering Skeet in more and more makeup to make him look
in a reflection. Like CGI'd to hell, so he looks like 26 years ago.
He does not. He looks terrifying. And I'm sure, so here's the thing. Old Skeet looks fine. He looks great.
Yeah.
What they're doing to him
they're
de-aging
him. Yeah, they're de-aging him.
But
and
he
just
looks
he looks weird.
Yeah.
He looks weird.
Every time I Google it and go like, is that another actor? Did they get another actor? Because like, what are they doing to his face? And then the hair drapes. Like, it's just, it looks...
Yeah. The 90s
it's
hair
Steve
drapes.
Buscemi, hello fellow kids, And it's like, again, I get it, because that does make sense. She wouldn't imagine him old. That would be weird.
She wouldn't
so they don't have a choice.
Skeet Ulrich today.
Yeah. But that's another thread that they don't really do anything with.
Not
they
really.
did in the first one too.
I was hoping maybe at the end she would like kill her sister or something. Like after going ape shit on the killers again, like she did in the last film. It's like, oh, there's the darkness coming out. Now we got a trilogy,
right. And that's really the thing. So we think about sequels, like the franchise sequels to horror films, and we think about what happens in those. Tommy Jarvis murdering fucking Jason, and then going to like a mental institution, right? He goes to the halfway house.
The halfway house, yeah.
And then someone else takes Jason. That's such a weird turn of events. And then of course people didn't like it, so they're like, bring him back as a zombie. Bring Ghostface back as a zombie. Have zombie stew. Fuck it.
That would be great.
Yeah, that would be great. Or you think about a weird example, but Orphan 2. Even Orphan 2 was like, we need to do something different here.
Yeah, that's true. That was kind of an interesting spin.
Yeah. I mean, the movie was silly, but they knew they can't just do the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of Halloween. Is it The Curse of Michael Myers, the one where the niece kills at the end? That's another version where it's like, oh my god, the cycle continues.
That's like 5, I think. Is that 5?
Right. So these are all things that happen in slasher films. These are tropes, but they're not well-used tropes. And it would be really nice to see that here. Like, it's just really weird that they claim to be so subversive. They claim to be so into horror. but they're not really thinking about what a sixth Scream then would be.
Right. They're still trying to do the thing that everyone thought was hip and clever 27 years ago.
Right.
Like having a character call out the rules of a horror movie. Also himself being a suspect, because like Randy's kind of a suspect until the end of the movie.
Oh yeah, he's a big suspect. Yeah,
actually, he kind of is. So I don't know. It just I don't think you can keep doing that.
No, because I think what's weird is that it feels like it's getting tamer and tamer. That's the weird part, is like this group of friends, they feel like a little like Disney Channel to me.
Yeah. Yes.
And they're not like, this is weird to say, it's not raunchy enough even. I mean, there's sex in this. There was some good bits with the roommate.
Yeah.
But like it feels oddly tame, even though they do the gore, they do the blood, but the plot is very tame. Again, they're too scared to kill anybody. They did kill Dewey, and that was cool, and that created an element of suspense in this one where you're like, oh, maybe they will kill somebody.
Yeah.
But then they didn't.
They don't kill
and, like,
anybody.
Literally,
and then 3 characters get what appears to be mortally stabbed and then come back at the end. Oh, they're fine. It's like,
one of them is like runs back and is like, hey guys, I got stabbed in the gut on the subway, but I'm fine.
Yep.
I don't even need medical assistance now. And then when they're getting in the ambulance, she even says like, it's a twist on a twist. And it's like, you mean not a twist.
Yeah.
That's what you're describing, is not a twist.
You're untwisting the twist is what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like we subverted it by not being subversive.
Yeah, how are you
like,
sprinting after you get stabbed in the gut with a... Anyway.
Yeah.
Huge hunting
and
knife.
So like...
her brother too, like the scene where I like genuinely thought he was dead. Because both killers grab him and they stab him no shit like 20 times. It's just they're both holding him and just stabbing his ass off. They took him to Stab Town, Dave.
They really did.
And he just comes back at the end.
It's a ticket to Stab Town. One-way ticket. But apparently not a one-way ticket.
They kind of did the same thing with Dewey. Like in Scream 2, Dewey gets his ass stabbed off of himself.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You remember? It really looks like he's dead in Scream 2.
Yeah.
So I guess it's the same kind of thing, but boy, they sure really wanted you to think that this character was dead. Like they could not have made it look more final. The only way they could have is if they actually cut his head off. But like you believed he was dead.
He's in the ambulance with his head sewn back on.
Yeah. But seriously, you believed that character was dead, and
that was. It felt like that was the point of the scene.
Yeah. And it was like sad because you liked him, and
it's kind of getting to a point where you're like, oh, I don't feel like anybody's in danger anymore.
Right, yeah.
Because a character apparently can get stabbed. This is a world where getting stabbed
They're
like
all
15
just so
times
casually
is
stabbed.
fun.
Courtney Cox, Jasmine Savoy Brown, her brother, the actor, I don't know his name, Hayden Panettiere, and I think that's every, or even Jenna Ortega gets stabbed at the end, but it's like not a problem. So that one doesn't really count. But like those 4 characters, no shit, it looks like they are dead, and then they all just come back at the end.
Right, which again, anti-slasher, like a slasher that barely kills people. Like that's the weirdness. Is like so. How many people get killed in this? It's probably got a pretty good body count, to be honest.
A lot of randos get killed.
Yeah, they have to bring in a lot of randos.
Like there's
don't they?
3 randos in the convenience store. The 2 murderers in the beginning, and then also Samara Weaving, who they murder in the beginning. So that's 6 right there, and that's just in 2 scenes.
Yeah.
So 7, 8, Courtney Cox's boyfriend. 7 was the girl that falls out of the fire escape.
Okay.
The killers are 9, 10, 11, but there's probably somebody else. I think there's only like 5 actual murders.
I was gonna say, but how many like of those are characters that we know? Like, we kind of knew Is it just the girlfriend?
It's just the girlfriend, yeah.
Yeah, that seems wrong, right?
Right, yeah, because what's her name's death turned out to be a red herring because she was one of the murderers.
Right. Everybody else is like boyfriend. Or stranger.
Right, yeah, it's all you're right. She's the only character we knew that gets killed outside of the murderers.
Right, so it really feels like they were ultra safe. while trying to claim how subversive they are. I want to go back to, though, because I said I liked this, and I do want to note something because you mentioned the convenience store. I really like how fast this moves. I like that it feels kind of like a rampage. Like there is so many Ghostface attacks one after another. Like I liked that scene where he just like jumps them on the street and then goes to the convenience store and goes on the, like I liked that shotgun scene.
Right, yeah,
it
was a little bewildering at first because like at first, you know, it's Halloween, so at first you're like, oh, is this really Ghostface? And then as the chase continues, like, oh shit, it's really Ghostface. Like,
right, and then when they're like regrouping at the apartment, and then he's just like, I'm here. I liked how often he showed up.
Right,
they showed up because it's three of them.
That was another idea that I thought was like, oh, I got excited about, and then the movie wound up doing something different. Like for a minute there, I thought the whole thing was going to take place in one night.
That would have been great.
That would have been really cool.
There's so many cool things. You know what I also wanted? Because when they showed the big shrine room, I wanted like 10 Ghostface. I wanted it to be like a cult. Like you learn that it's like
what I thought.
Cult of.
I legitimately thought it was going to be a gang of Ghostfaces.
That's what I was saying about that theater scene when they first go there. I really liked it. Was kind of chilling to show this like temple to Ghostface. And then when they reveal just like, I'm getting revenge because you killed my son, and this is just his stuff. I was like, that sucks. I want to meet the person who made this collection.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to meet the person who built this.
Well, we apparently already did. It was Jack Quaid in the last movie.
Exactly. Yeah. And that kind of sucks because it was like, fuck, man, that you hit on a good idea of like this cult of Ghostface.
And it's not
this,
like
internet troll army going after her, and they could all be one and the same, but they just like we don't get to see any of that.
Yeah, I mean, and people, it's that would have been, you know, that's a legitimate place to take it because, you know, with like the Dahmer show that just came out, and it's the controversy of you know, how we sort of kind of glamorize murderers in popular culture. So that could have been a legitimate way for the movie to go. Yeah,
right. Or the way you were describing, where it's just a vigilante, because again, who gives a fuck about movies? I really hope that was such
an offer.
Right. And it would have been amazing if they were just like, what are the rules? And someone goes, he's not going by movie rules. This person is not going by movie rules, so we don't have to, like, I want to see a Scream where like he doesn't call them first, where it's just like doing
they won't do that. It's such a part of it, though. It's like
I know.
It's almost like doing a Freddy movie where he doesn't attack you in your dreams. Almost.
That's true. Almost, but like these series is all about horror tropes and subverting them or not, and so it's tough because it's like if a stand-up comedian their whole bit was making fun of other comedians, they better be funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if that's their whole bit, if someone's talking about how George Carlin sucks, they better be funny.
Yeah.
And so like this movie is like, we don't care about horror movies. Fuck those tropes. We're going to do everything new. And then it's like, well, then you better do that.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you?
Yeah, you should probably do that. I will say, related to the phone calls, that was one of the times I laughed the hardest in this movie. I did laugh a few times. It was a, generally entertaining movie. I just thought it was bad and disappointing. Is when Courtney Cox is on the phone with Ghostface, and then she says, "Can you hold?" And he's like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, that was great.
That was so good.
So after like Ready or Not, like they have a good sense of comedy horror. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The part where she says like, "Is that Paul?" and you hear the voice go, "Who the fuck is Paul?"
Yeah,
like there was a couple good like
there's good jokes in this. Yeah, not all of the jokes are good, but there are good ones.
Yeah, no, I still think these directors are good. Mm-hmm. That's the thing is like I hope they don't have to do Screams all their lives, because I think Scream is a property that's probably got a lot of people involved in. You know what I mean?
Oh,
there's
a
lot of like, this person has to be involved. This person has to be involved. You know what I didn't need? Neve Campbell, and nothing against her, but I'm like, yeah, get rid of Courtney Cox too.
I didn't really need Courtney Cox either. I mean, nothing against her. I'm fine. I'm happy she was there, but like the movie didn't really need her.
No, you know what? The movie I really didn't need? Kirby from Scream 4.
The return of Kirby from Scream 4.
It was like one of those moments where they give her a musical like cue.
Yeah.
Like we're supposed to be really amazed that Kirby's there, and I was like,
it is a
Kirby.
thing. It is a thing within the fandom of Scream that
I'm sure
people
it is.
wanted her to come back because you don't technically see her die in Scream 4.
Right. It just felt like if they brought back like Crispin Glover from one of the Jason.
You would do musical fanfare
that's a
for
bad,
Crispin Glover.
bad
example.
Bad example.
He does that dance into the room.
Yeah. Oh, that would be incredible. But you know what I mean, where it's like,
yeah. Or it's some really inconsequential character from 3 sequels ago.
and this was like FBI Kirby, and so this is nothing against the actress. They dressed her up. It felt like she was a Halloween character, like going as an FBI agent. She was wearing like a leather jacket, and she was like really cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dress her up like an adult, will you? Like what the fuck? It's weird. I thought it was weird. I thought her costume. I kept being like, she looks like she's like
it's hip horror movie character costume. You know how it is. You have the regular cops, and then you have the cool cop who wears a leather jacket.
Yeah, and there's a history of dumb outfits. I mean, Tommy Jarvis in his Canadian tuxedo.
Oh man, he is dripping with denim.
Yeah, he is
dripping with Canadian gold.
Yeah, but I think there's like it feels like they're not sure what to do anymore. And so they play it very safe because like they're like, we got to get as many legacy characters back, but we're not going to pay Neve Campbell that much. And so rightfully, she was just like, I bounced. You know what would have been great if the third mask came off and it was fucking Neve Campbell. Like if they had done that as a publicity thing.
Oh man.
And she was Ghostface. That would have been cool. Like it's just like
that'd have made some fans pretty angry. And this movie is so conservative. But yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing is I was thinking about this shit because I was like, give me something.
Yeah.
Give me something in the plot that actually is subversive or surprising. And they don't.
Not so far.
And that's right. And I was reading about certain things that they have, like rules that, like, because movies have rules, Scream especially, which is like they want them to always be these self-contained whodunits, which I get it. So they're never gonna like do like a sequel.
That's what kind of makes it difficult to
be continued.
It's part of what kind of makes it difficult to keep bringing back characters. Because if you keep bringing back so many characters from the previous film, it really dwindles the whodunit pool. Unless one of those characters becomes the murderer.
Right, which they literally, she suggests. She says one of you guys could be a murderer, one of the core 4. They bring that up, and then it's like, oh, that would be an interesting thing to do, but nope, don't do that. And so that's the issue, is because it seems like they have... I just feel like there's a producer like with their talents in this who's like, you can't do that, you can't do that, don't do that. I'm sure
there's many. This is a lucrative property.
Exactly. And so like for that reason, yes, the comparison to Marvel is actually apt. It just shouldn't be what they're thinking. That shouldn't be how where their head's
It shouldn't be how they approach making the movie. I agree.
No, I think there's something to... So we're in a world where you can make 10 sequels now, right? And they all are treated with reverence. I think that creates some really boring sequels because you look at those old horror sequels. I think part of what made those work is a level of nihilism, right? From the filmmakers who are like, who gives a shit? Like we're making fucking, we're making the 6th Jason. Let's have fun with it.
Right. And they also, that's a little bit different because the main characters of those movies are the murderers.
Yes.
So it's
different.
It's a lot easier to make those episodic.
Right, but yeah,
I guess maybe it's not. You could just be like, fuck it. There's no returning characters in Scream 7. This is just a whole new whodunit with a bunch of new characters. Yeah. Go enjoy.
Well, it should be new fucking characters every sequel.
It really should be. It really should be. I think that would help the movies from turning out like this, where it's just kind of like you have a bunch of characters who aren't in danger, and then you dangle the possibility of them dying in front of us. Like, 4 characters appear to be dead and then just come back.
There's this.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes
It's
for
part
better
of the confusion.
whodunit. We
Yeah.
guessed the murderers so fast, literally because they're pretty much the only characters who aren't the returning characters.
Right.
Because there's
I-
6 returning characters.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
most of the cast. It's like, well, we're pretty
And
sure
that's-
none of them are the murderers.
And that's the thing. There's this like legacy aspect. There's a few things. Is like, I said this before on like Hypecast or something. I think after Scream 1, they 100% should have dropped the meta horror movie stuff.
Yeah.
Dropped it.
You
Dropped
can't-
it immediately.
You really, it's even that original trilogy struggled to keep doing it,
Yes.
and it didn't succeed in doing it. In fact,
Yes. And then once it gets to 6, we're like, what's the rule of the 6 movie? It's like, shut the fuck up.
get
Well,
that fuck out of my face. Yeah.
drop that shit. Secondly, and this is kind of, I would be sad if they did this, but they probably should have did this. I think they needed to have new characters from Scream 2 because this legacy shit is getting really bogged down. It reminds me of how like how the Terminator movies got like in its own weird legacy.
Yeah.
Where it's like that's not what it was about. It's just a slasher, Terminator versus person. We don't need to know like all these details. Like that's what's happening here, right? Is it's becoming this like daughter of Billy Loomis.
It's really convoluted and silly, and it's just, man, when 80% of your cast is returning characters from the previous film, it's like,
right.
This is not going to be a very compelling whodunit.
Right. Look at
And
other
then you have
whodunits.
And you're right. So they do end up having Ghostface just kill a bunch of random strangers and then one person who we know for 3 scenes.
Yeah. And you look at any other whodunit and it's like they always start fresh, right? There's always one investigator and then it's an entirely new cast. And so like that's a problem. You look at look at fucking Scream 2 and why Scream 2 kind of worked is I believe there was only like 2 legacy characters in that.
No, there
one.
were 3. No, 4 actually.
3?
There
4?
was Dewey, Randy, Sydney, and
Gale.
Gale.
Yeah,
and
but
Randy
then
gets
everybody
killed
else,
very abruptly, which
Yeah.
was a good move. That was a good instinct.
that was a really good instinct, and they had a lot of new characters as well.
Mhm.
And so like there was a lot of leeway there, right? That was like that worked. But you're right, is that as they kept making them, it's just dwindling returns.
Mhm.
But at least I think it's a problem with legacy characters too, because that they kept that small, right? Like, and I guess it is again
from
core
that
4.
from that movie on, it was 3. But there was more than 4 in this one though. Even though they said core 4, they brought Hayden Panettiere from the other movie.
Yeah.
So that was 5 actually, and then Gale was 6.
Right. So they're running. That's the thing, is the legacy characters are compounding,
Mhm.
and now they're like having reverence for Scream 4, and it's like,
Yeah.
come on, guys,
It's like, dude,
like this is exhausting.
that's the
Like,
that's the 4th best Scream movie. Like,
yeah, bring back fucking
why are we
Nev
cheering for
Campbell.
this?
Yeah, bring back the people from the original film or nobody else at all. I don't give a shit about the other characters. If Jerry O'Connell showed up, like, I'm actually alive, I'd be like, well, cool, man, why are you here?
Jerry
Get
O'Connell
out.
as a zombie. Now there you go.
So there you go.
Jerry O'Connell zombie Ghostface.
Yeah. So like you're right, they're just running out of suspects because
Mhm.
they just keep adding more legacy characters. And now we have these characters that are like her friends who I didn't even remember from the previous film. And so it's now like how many fucking characters are like safe because they don't dare make them the killer? Too many.
Yeah,
is the
it's too
answer.
many. The answer is 6, which is too
Yeah.
many.
Yeah, you have
hard
to
to
have
do
like a cast of 20 people in order to make those 6. Like,
it's hard
yeah.
to do a whodunit slasher when 6 members of the cast are safe.
Yeah. And so yeah, they need to switch gears. They desperately need to switch gears.
Yeah. Some
It
good stabbing in
is-
this movie though. Some solid stabbing.
Right, because at the end of the day, I know why people liked this. I'm not sure why critics liked it, to be honest.
That's
But I know-
what confuses me. Yeah.
Yeah, I know why most people like this because who gives a shit?
Right.
It's Scream
It's-
6.
as a slasher movie, it's fine. People get the bejesus stabbed out of them, and it's I don't know. If
Yeah, it
that's
has
what
some
you're-
funny parts.
Yeah, it's got some
has
funny
fun
parts.
kills.
It's got some fun kills. It's a decent slasher movie.
Yeah. But it's just like
let me roll that back. It is a perfectly watchable slasher movie.
Yeah, I think it's also we're people who have been with the franchise from the beginning.
Yeah, we're
And-
crusty old farts.
Yeah, we probably have more reverence for it than we should, in the sense that we want it to be good. We want it, and I don't know why we want it to be good.
Yeah, because really there's only one good Scream movie.
there really is only one good Scream.
Scream 2 is okay.
Yeah, remember Scream 3? That was a fucking mess. Jay and Silent Bob are in
Jay
Scream
and
3.
Silent Bob are in Scream 3.
Right. And so this is what's wild, is all this criticism. I got to tell you, this is probably my second favorite Scream. When you actually look at them all, this is kind of my second favorite, and it's terrible.
I'm gonna go with Scream 2 as my
Okay.
second favorite. I
Maybe
still
third
think
favorite then.
I still think in general the movies in sequence are how I would rank them. Like,
That's fair.
although
so
man,
Scream
3 is
4
real bad.
3 and 4 are, I think, terrible.
They are pretty bad.
3, 4, and 5, I think, are in the lower. That's the thing, is that's why I'm like, fuck, man. Like, I think, yeah, maybe Scream 1, 2, and then this 6.
Scream Takes Manhattan.
Because again, I had fun with this because new setting, and that was enough to make me go, okay, this is interesting. Like, I'm having a fun time, even if it didn't amount to anything. But it was disappointing in that it kept making these offers that were so grand that I was like, oh, I hope they do that. And then they just did the same fucking thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a street magician being like, this is nothing you've ever seen, and then he saws a woman in half.
Pulls a coin out of your ear.
Yeah, and you're like,
okay.
oh,
Just blew my mind, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I just wanted to call out. We had mentioned earlier the convenience store sequence. Even though they show it in the trailer, it's still pretty good in the film.
it is good.
Like we mentioned, it starts with Ghostface just randomly chasing him on the street, and you're not even sure it's the real Ghostface at first. It was a well done sequence. And then, so on a similar note, the subway sequence, even though they show it in the trailer, is actually pretty well done in the movie. I thought it was a good sequence.
And what is the common thread of both sequences? They use the city.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was saying, like, I really like that they use the city. And I wish they used it more. I wish, like, you saying it would all happen in one night is a great idea. If it all happened in one night and it almost entirely in public, I think that would have been really cool. If it was just like Halloween and they're just dealing with like Ghostface and just quietly picking them off in a very public places, I think that would have been really smart and cool.
Yeah. There was a part of the convenience store sequence is, he's terrorizing them in the convenience store, and it's only about 60 seconds because the cops show up quick. And then when the cops show up, you see the mask on the ground and he's run out the back. And I was like, oh shit, that's a great idea, because seriously, you just if you take off the Ghostface mask, it could be fucking anybody. You're in the middle of New York City.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So yeah, I think doing stuff out in the open more would have been cool too.
Yeah,
and
they did
opening
they did
was real
enough
good,
that made
man.
me enjoy it.
That opening was real good.
The opening was really good. I still liked the stupid ladder thing because it was
that was fine.
Yeah, and I liked Ghostface's mannerisms during it. I liked that he like puts the knife in the windowsill in a very matter-of-fact way and shakes it and then plucks it back up. And like you knew it was coming. You knew like that.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, whoever's last is going to die.
Well,
but
and
it
also
was still fun to watch.
She had been gutted at that point. Like he drags the knife up her stomach. I'm like, well, she's not going to make it.
And here's what actually bummed me out is I thought she was going to die on the ladder and her guts were going to fall out.
Yeah, as he was banging her up and down on the ladder. I was like, oh, her guts are going to fall out.
I mean, it was still pretty fun.
It was still pretty gnarly. Yeah,
Eat
shit on the side of a dumpster.
Yeah,
the whole theater reacted to that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I had a very rowdy theater, and it was kind of good. It was the kind of thing where I'm like, yes, if I was watching Doubt, I would be like, let's not be rowdy.
People
but I'm watching
cheering
Scream.
during Doubt.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, movies are back.
What?
But no, it was. But like there were.
She said she has doubt.
Yeah, when the killer took off their masks, some like teenage girls were like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Good for you! Like, good for you! You were born like fucking, 18 years ago or whatever, and this stuff still surprises you, and good for you. I'm glad. I'm glad that people were enjoying themselves watching this, that young people were.
Sure.
Because I'm just this old, gross bastard who's alone in the theater, like a theater filled with people on dates and like in crowds.
And
I'm like,
Dave.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, let's watch Scream 6. So like, yeah, that's the thing. That's part of why it made me go like, yeah, all right, Scream 6. I'm
Sure.
having fun with you.
Yeah.
Because people are enjoying you, and that's the most you can ask for. You know, like
Yeah.
if the crowd was dead silent during this, that'd be another thing.
I think they all deserved a little bit better movie, but yeah, sure, it's perfectly it's perfectly watchable.
I agree, though. I agree that like part of the reason I enjoyed this is because I went in it expecting absolute dog shit. Because I had been so burnt by the last one.
I was cautiously optimistic because of the good reviews, and then I heard an interview with the filmmakers. They're like, we kind of played it real safe in the first one, as sort of like an exchange that they let us go a little wild with this one. I was like, okay,
yeah, but did you?
Not really. The violence was definitely more intense.
And that's what they're talking about, because that
probably
really speaks to the producers who have their talents in this, where they're like, you get a little bit of something, but you can't subvert the plot in any interesting way. No interesting way. Even though you keep, you could tell they wanted to. They're like tapping, they're like tapping on the glass, trying to push.
The beginnings of some interesting offers and ideas in this movie, for sure. Maybe they'll do them in the next one. I'm sure there's going to be a next one. This thing is killing it. So,
yeah.
I see. I walked right into that one, Dave. Get it? Killing it.
Oh, like a murder, like a homicide.
A knife.
Yep. Yeah, that is the part that frustrates me. I came out of this movie generally like, I had fun. Because again, I kept it to that standard, but I recognized there were so many offers. Like again, that opening was so strong.
Yeah, that's
and nothing
great
lived
opening.
up to it.
Yeah.
And that's really the issue, is they kept saying they were going to subvert it, and then they absolutely didn't from beginning to end.
Some genuinely good scenes though.
Yeah. I like knife in the throat, I like all the murders. I like I said, I liked, even though you're right, it was Scream 2. I liked that set piece. I liked it because it promised something that it didn't actually deliver. But that's the thing, is like, I liked all the promises, and I guess I spent the movie fantasizing about a better version. But I did like that they included that.
I watched that movie in my head while this one was going on.
Yeah, kind of.
All right. I don't think we need to talk any longer about Scream 6,
Dave. We don't have to talk any longer about Scream 6. Thanks for listening, folks.
Yeah.
Listen here. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed, GAMEFULOY, unemployed. We have exclusive podcasts on there like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, Spiel Boys. Every Friday night we watch movies with our patron through our Discord. In fact, you already missed it, but we yesterday watched the Oscars.
We sure did.
A live stream.
We sure did.
So
Dave.
like we do stuff on there. We interact with all of you, and then we have tiers where you can like make custom We Just Watched episodes, custom podcasts. A lot of shit on there that you should check out.
Yeah, slap your little ghost face peepers on that. And slap them on. We have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com. You can find a link to our Teespring store. We have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs. You can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So, yeah, your ghost little peepers, put them over there. If you want. You don't have to.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Oh, also, important message from this movie. Don't go to New York City. It sucks.
Yeah, really just a lot of murderers running around.
And buildings and cars and shit. I don't know. It's just it's not great.
It seems noisy. It seems real noisy.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is noisy, Tom. I hate it.